Dua Lipa has returned to follow up her 2020 smash hit record Future Nostalgia. I simply can't believe it's been 4 years since that album, but in that time, a lot of hype was built to see how she'd follow it up. And I won't lie, going into this new album, I had some reservations. I didn't totally love the lead single, Houdini, though it has grown on me, but I also didn't love its follow-up, Training Season, though I did and still do really enjoy the third single, Illusion. But going off these 3 songs, I was a little confused as to the direction she was going in. In interviews, Dua said this was going to be a more psychedelic album that paid tribute to UK rave culture. And while I saw the seeds of that in the singles, the concept didn't feel fully realized to me. And honestly, after listening to the album quite a bit, I still don't totally get psychedelic or rave vibes. Instead, Radical Optimism is more of a summery, feel-good, uplifting record that dabbles in genres like trip-hop and psychedelia, albeit with a shiny Eurodance veneer. While it is a little different from what I expected, I still found myself enjoying this record quite a lot. Mainly, I love the attitude of it. True to its name, there's an unwavering sense of optimism, emotional maturity, and growth that she never loses sight of throughout all 11 tracks. Despite discussing topics like breakups and past lovers, Dua takes a very what's past is past, all we could do is focus on the future approach, especially on songs like Happy For You, which is one of the best in my opinion, and These Walls, and I personally love that. As someone who naturally looks on the bright side of things and tries to keep an optimistic attitude, this album honestly spoke to me. We're so used to pop stars giving us intense emotional performances, and obviously I love that too. But I think this album works as a chiller, but still fun and danceable alternative. Just because it lacks the club-ready banger after banger energy of her last record, doesn't mean there aren't some really catchy tracks here. I particularly love End of an Era, which sounds like something straight out of Calvin Harris's Funk Wave Bounces, which is an album I love, so that's a very high compliment. It's so summery and breezy, a perfect laying out by the pool type of song, but it's still one you could dance to thanks to its really groovy beat. Same goes for These Walls, with its dreamy, ethereal soundscape. I love how the understated production really lets Dua's voice shine. She has such a beautiful, rich tone, and I feel like she shows that off even more on this album than in her last. I also love Falling Forever, which the beginning of was damn near a jump scare for me. Her vocals are crazy. If you've heard it, you know what I'm talking about. To me, this is Radical Optimism's Love Again, the big dramatic, almost operatic love song, and in my opinion, it's just as good as Love Again. I also have to shout out Anything for Love, which is such a cute little chill bop. It sounds like something a lounge singer would sing or something. I don't know, it starts off all classy with the piano, and then it kicks things up about halfway through, and gets really funky. It's just a really cool track, and I actually don't mind how short it is. It works as a cute little interlude. But with that said, I wouldn't be mad if we got an extended version one day. I will say, even though I did just highlight some of my favorites, I don't think there's many obvious standouts on Radical Optimism. The whole thing is very consistent. I don't think there's many individual moments that immediately spring to mind when I look at the track list. I wish she went even further into dream pop or trip hop territory, and made something like a Pure Shores by All Saints, or Six Underground by Sneaker Pimps. She gets a little close with Happy For You, but I wish she really embraced those sounds. I especially would love for her to collab with William Orbit. That would be really cool, and I feel like his style would work really well on Radical Optimism. As it is, it sort of feels like the tracks are caught in between the dance pop Dua is known for, and the newer genres she wanted to explore, making Radical Optimism feel a little half-baked in my opinion. I would have loved if she just completely jumped into the waters and went full trancey, psychedelic, 90s trip-hop, hell, even electronic, but that's not really what we got here. This is still very much a Dua Lipa album that happens to take inspiration from those genres, and because of that, I don't think Radical Optimism takes enough risks or manages to be super memorable. Now, that's not to say the songs aren't memorable at all, but I think their relatively low-key nature does make them more growers than they are showers. With Future Nostalgia, I could immediately recall each song after just one listen, but with Radical Optimism, it took me a few listens to really get hooked. I won't lie, at first, I was a little whelmed. Not that I was disappointed, but I could tell this was going to be one of those records that I'd have to give time to let it sink in. And yeah, it's only been a few days that it's even been out, but it has grown on me, and I definitely see myself spinning it a lot in the summer. I don't think it reaches the same highs as her last 2 albums, but I think as a cohesive project, it really does work. It's also pretty short, clocking in at about 37 minutes, so it's a good one to throw on while you're running errands, or just need a pick-me-up, feel-good vibe. I wouldn't say this is my favorite album of the year, and yeah, I do kind of wish it went fully into trippy, psychedelic territory, but for what it is, Radical Optimism is still a great record that's absolutely worth checking out. Dua has done it again. The girl simply does not miss.